taken for answers. Rather than pursuing nebulous so-called international standards, I had the occasion of talking to the Ethiopian Minister of Health, who told me once that they train community health workers in English language. And then they give them an exam, and I think only about 20% passed. They gave them the same exam in their own local Amharic language, and 80% passed. We show that at that particular point, language was an obstruction. But what he was interested in service delivery. And if you could teach people in a language with which they can give you what you want, it doesn't matter which language. The door to learning from global best practices must, I repeat, never be shut. It must always remain open. We also need to redefine among our institutional health workers in frank conversation and in the interest of the nation, rather than perceptions, a workable relationship. The relationship between traditional practitioners who are a reality, whether we like it or not, they are a reality in our country. The relationship between traditional practitioners and orthodox practitioners also needs to be addressed in a similar setting. I am particularly excited and looking forward to the lecture that we're going to hear from the guest today, from the guest speaker. I'm sure he will touch on many of these things I have enumerated. I wish you all the best of attention and happy listening, and I thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister. I think we can give him another round of applause. Please permit me to introduce the first Acting Registrar of Lagos State University, Olori Esther A. Ashoka, former Mrs. E. A. Bamboshi. You're welcome. We also have in the house Mr. Gladstone Oshun, former registrar. You're welcome, sir. Right now, we'll take a musical interlude. And we'd like to welcome Mr. Ayanwale Ayo Olayunju. He's also a pioneer LASU. Let's welcome him. Let's be generous. Good. Ladies and gentlemen, Professor Olumide is not just an intellectual, he's also a performer, and he wants to give us a short performance. Go. That was wonderful. Thank you very much, sir, for that wonderful performance. Right now, I have the pleasure to invite Mr. Bayo Ayo to read the citation of the former visitor. Mr. Bayo, please. A short word.
Thank you very much. It is a great pleasure that I stand here today before an icon and a sage. And I want to say, before I start anything, a big thank you, sir. We are very, very grateful for everything you have done. Alhaji Jakonde was the first visitor of the Lagos State University, and through him, history has been made. Because I believe that many people my generation, at least in Lagos State, must have, as a matter of compulsion, enjoyed the benefits created by the great sage, Alhaji Lateef Kayode Jakonde. Alhaji Jakonde became the governor of Lagos State in 1979, and he was there for just 4 years. And in 4 years, I'm going to touch on just 3 key areas that he embarked on to transform Lagos State to become what it is today. And those things that he did have continued to remain the major things that successive governments only improved upon. The first one is health. Alhaji Jakonde invested heavily in health, in the provision of affordable care, and this included the construction, the equipping, and the staffing of general hospitals and health centers across the state. Now this he did in addition to providing adequate and very free medical services to every Lagosian across the state. We say thank you, sir. He engaged trained doctors and other medical personnel who displayed unparalleled dedication to duty. They were ready, they were happy to do that which they were employed to do. On physical infrastructure, I'm not sure there has been any government in this country today that has matched what the government of Alhaji Jakonde did in just 4 years. Just to run through, we still have all these legacies littered around the state. At least 30,000 housing units are constructed within this period. We have huge network of roads. You know, we can mention 2. One of them is the Lekki Express Expressway and the LASU Road. Transportation through the waters, the ferry services. Majorly is education, which he made free and compulsory. You are not only compelled to go to school, but you are made to go to school for free. I am a beneficiary, and I'm very sure that quite a number of people, my generation, who are seated in this hall today, are beneficiaries of the free and compulsory education of the Jakonde government. You are given free books and free writing materials in schools. He abolished at that time the shift system where you had the morning and afternoon shifts, and so made everybody equal. There were qualified teachers and non-teaching staff. And I want to say, he also set up tertiary institutions, the Polytechnic, the College of Education, and the Baba of them all, the Lagos State University. And in setting up LASU, we had a great man who set the ball rolling in the muddy roads of LASU, the various parts where we didn't know whether he was a student or the vice chancellor. That was the third person of Professor Olabode. Thank you, sir. You will wonder, did Alhaji Jakonde go to Cambridge or did he attend Harvard? No. Alaji Jakonde has always been a person of himself. He attended Initial Grammar School and a few other local schools around. And afterwards, he started his journalism career from where he set up the Lagos News as a newspaper. He did this until he became the governor of Lagos State, where he achieved the great feat that we have listed. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to say that there is no amount of time given that can do justice to the good works of Alaji Jakonde. Therefore, join me, ladies and gentlemen, to celebrate this idol of mine, and an icon, a sage, an author of several books, the first president of the Nigerian Newspaper Proprietors Association of Nigeria, the Gopa Niji of Ibesheland, the Baba Adini of Ebe, Baba Adini of Badagry, and the Baba Kekere of Nigeria. The first president governor of Lagos State, the founder, the benefactor of the world-class Lagos State University, Alhaji Lateef Kayode Jakonde. Standing ovation.
Thank you very much, Mr. Bayo Ayo. Please, let's be seated. On this note, I also want to bring the National President, Major General Sesi Esekagbe, to say a few things about another great Lagosian, Air Commando Bolaho Wodashiro.
Late Air Commodore Bolaho Wodashiro was born in 1946 in Lagos State. A very fine gentleman at that time. He was one of those few military officers that were sent abroad for military academy training. He distinguished himself, and as a matter of fact, was an award-winning officer cadet in the German Air Force Training Institute. The senior officer had very ministerial appointments. He was a logistician. Today, you reckon with me that logistics and logistic preparation have continued to plague our results of life, because we take logistics as a very simple thing, but it's complicated in execution. In 1982-83, when our great power had the vision of establishing a state university in Lagos, many other governors at that time tried their best to do a similar thing. But the unfortunate incidents of 31st December 1983 truncated everything that was good that the civilian administration planned. But Air Commodore Bolaho Wodashiro was posted to Lagos State as a military governor. He was one of those few governors who did not truncate what the civilian administration that preceded them did. Through haywire politics that was doing at that time, he ensured that the vision of our great fathers, the establishments of Lagos State University, came to fruition. So it is one thing to have a vision. It is one thing to get the mission accomplished. That late senior officer ensured that the seed that was planted by our great papa was planted successfully and gave birth to the establishment of Lagos State University in 1984. He was called to glory in December 2003. May his soul continue to rest in peace.
Thank you, National President. We are here to listen to a lecture, and we are almost there. And to take the citation of the guest lecturer is another distinguished LASUite. The first LASUite to be appointed lecturer. He is the pioneer Deputy Vice Chancellor of Adeleke University. Let's welcome Professor Ibikunle Tijani.
Thank you very much. I would like to invite the guest lecturer, Professor LASU. If I murder your surname, please pardon me. Okay. Could you please stand? And I will skip the protocol. Yes, please. Because we are far, far, far away. It's supposed to be an academic exercise. And sincerely apologize on behalf of the committee. The guest lecturer, Professor LASU, graduated with MBBS in 1984 from the College of Medicine, University of Lagos, and obtained the fellowship of the Faculty of Pediatrics of the West African College of Physicians in 1994. In 1996, he proceeded to the Institute of Child Health, London, an affiliated unit of the University College London, where he obtained a master's in mother and child health with distinction in 1997. In 2011, he was awarded the fellowship of the prestigious Royal Physicians of London. His area of interest are malaria, pediatric neurology, child development, and medical education. He has been the Secretary General of the West African College of Physicians, the Chairman of the LASU chapter of the Medical and Dental Consultant Association, the Deputy Chairman, Medical Advisory Committee, and so many other laurels. He has successfully supervised 17 fellowships and PhD dissertations. So he has given back. If you are a professor and you have not graduated one PhD, I don't think I will teach you. I do not think. So you have to give back. So this gentleman, scholar, Professor LASU, is a member of a number of professional associations, including the Nigerian Medical Association, the Pediatric Association of Nigeria, the Medical and Dental Consultants Association of Nigeria. He is also an international member of American Academy of Pediatrics and the International Society for Autism Research. Mr. Vice Chancellor, sir, distinguished chair, the honoree, our pioneer Vice Chancellor, please welcome Professor LASU.
The Honorable Minister, the Vice Chancellor, permit me to adopt the existing protocol, so ably laid by the Vice Chancellor. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I consider it a personal honor to be asked by the LASU Alumni Association to be asked to deliver this lecture, the first in the series in honor of an outstanding Nigerian, my teacher, the Foundation Vice Chancellor of this great university, Professor Olufolabi Ayodeji Olumide. This is even more so as this lecture series is being instituted in his lifetime, when he can appreciate the acknowledgement of his pioneering role. And I congratulate the alumni executive and pray that what you have started will be sustained for the coming generations of staff and students. Permit me to give my own tribute to the icon we are honoring today. Professor Falabi Olumide was born in April 1936 to an illustrious family with noble roots in Abeokuta and Lagos. And I see he honored both roots by his performance. He attended CMS Grammar School, Lagos, and Igobi College, the best in their generation, and proceeded to the Premier University of Ibadan, where he graduated MBBS in 1964. Following further postgraduate training in Montreal, Canada, Pittsburgh, he returned to Nigeria in 1971 to a distinguished career in surgery and university administration. What can we glean from his life and career? Professor Falabi Olumide is a multifaceted and multi-talented man, driven by the fear of God, the simple nobility of his ancestry, the pursuit of excellence, the love of humanity, and the love of family. His is a noble character, refined by rising to challenges and overcoming personal adversity. Through it all, Professor Falabi Olumide has lived his faith in God, trusting him always, and is enjoying his rewards as so beautifully enunciated in Psalm 128. One more thing strikes me, and that is his pioneering spirit. Foundation Provost of the College of Health Sciences of Olabisi Onabanjo University, when it was Ogun State University, and the Foundation Vice Chancellor of LASU, who conceived the need for another College of Medicine in Lagos. One tangible output of his vision is that today, these two institutions have now achieved the reputation for producing high-quality medical graduates who are holding their own in various disciplines of medicine at home and in diaspora. Today, we salute your foresight, dedication, and commitment to excellence. Indeed, to quote the eminent historian, late Professor Saburi Biobaku, who Professor Olumide referenced in his maiden convocation lecture to the Joseph Ayo Babalada University in 2020, he said, and I quote, "Great men appear now and again to help shape the course of human history. The history of their lives does not in itself amount to the totality of history of man. It nonetheless serves to illuminate the history and unravel the course of human events." The above quotation aptly summarizes the greatness of the man we are honoring today, and there is nothing more to add. Why this topic? Rethinking medical education, an imperative for improving healthcare in Nigeria, is in response to the realization that despite the improvement of health indices in Nigeria since Professor Olumide was Vice Chancellor in 1983, Nigeria still has a long way to catch up with emerging economies, not to talk of developing countries. A lot has been said about what it takes to improve the health of Nigerians, and I'm glad the Honorable Minister has touched on quite a number of them, which I will elaborate on. It is in all this, there's a realization that the human beings are the very center of healthcare improvement. They are the providers who provide the care, the consumers who use the care provided and must be satisfied with what they are receiving. We also have policymakers and administrators who interface between them. And I hope to show that as teachers and administrators in tertiary institutions such as this, training the required manpower to drive improvement, we need to rethink what we are doing so that we move away from doing things the same way every time and expecting a different results. And I'll be illustrating my points from the writings and thoughts of Professor Falabi Olumide, and the outline is as shown. So, if we are to answer the question of how healthy our people have been faring, how our people have been faring health-wise, we can see from the table that there has been a reduction in the unacceptably high health indices from the 80s to the present time. And I've highlighted, you can see I've taken some health indices, infant mortality rate, maternal mortality rate, and I've contrasted it with some economic indices and of course life expectancy. And you can see that indeed there has been an improvement. However, if you notice that the improvement in Nigeria health indices is about 48% for infant mortality rate and 40% reduction in maternal mortality rate. If you compare to Ghana, Ghana is about 61% for infant mortality rate and 50% for maternal mortality rate. And of course, I want to compare that with a country like Rwanda that showed the greatest reduction in infant and maternal mortality rate of 80% and 78% respectively, notwithstanding the amount, how rich they are. If you look at what has been settled, you can see as compared with America, where you can see how rich they are. And you can see Rwanda there, they're not so rich, yet they achieved significant reduction in these rates. Regarding the health workforce, our population of 190 million, as well, 198 as said by the Honorable Minister, is served by 72,000 doctors, 4,000 physiotherapists, 242,000 nurses and midwives, and about 24,000 pharmacists. Now, these numbers are inadequate to cover our manpower needs, further compounded by the internal and external brain drain, which I shall touch upon later. The next figure shows how we have improved in the number of medical colleges in Nigeria from 1960, when we had only 2, to the current time, where we have over 39, including a medical university in Ondo. I'm not in any way suggesting that the modest improvement of health indices is directly related to the growth of tertiary institutions in Nigeria. The next figure, I'm sorry it's a bit small, what I'm trying to show is this is the density of doctors, nurses, and midwives in 49 countries by WHO. And the line down the middle, the red line, is the expected number, which is about 23 doctors and midwives per 10,000 population. And you can see Nigeria is close to achieving that number, but I will talk about that number a bit later on. And it's clear that if we are to meet the WHO ratio of health worker population of 23 doctors, nurses, and midwives, the governments and federal and state levels, as well as other stakeholders in education, must continue to respond to the ever-widening manpower gap that exists in the country. The next slide just wants to highlight the determinants of health. And there are quite a number of determinants of health, but I want to just focus on health services or health systems. For the purpose of this lecture, we're just looking at health systems. Now, if the health system is a planned organization of people, institutions, and resources to deliver quality health care to a specific population, and we accept that our health indices, although improving, are still bad, then we must ask the fundamental question of how we can improve the health systems in Nigeria. In other words, how can we strengthen our health system? The WHO recognizes that good healthcare system requires, among other things, a robust financing mechanism, well-trained and adequately paid workforce, and reliable information on which to base decisions and policies. So the question I ask the audience, if we are to apply those things, do we have a robust financing mechanism where almost 70% of people pay out of pockets to access health care? Do we have well-trained and adequately paid workforce? And I'm glad my employer is here, Minister of Health, to improve our health, improve our pay. And do we have reliable information on which to base decisions and policies? Let's talk about the health workforce. The health workforce can be defined as all people engaged in actions whose primary intent is to enhance health. These human resources include clinical staff, such as doctors, nurses, pharmacists, etc., as well as management and support staff, those who don't deliver services directly, but are essential to the performance of health systems, such as managers, administrators, ambulance drivers, accountants, etc. This means everyone operating in and around health facilities in the 3 tiers of health care, namely primary, secondary, and tertiary. It is self-evident that the more they understand their complementary roles and work efficiently and harmoniously as a team, the better delivery of health care and better the outcome of the health of the population they serve. For this lecture, I'll be focusing on the clinical workforce. Let me just digress and talk about Rwanda. I think it's very important we understand Rwanda. Rwanda is a landlocked country in East Africa, has a population of about 12 million people. At independence in 1962, it was one of the least developed countries with the poorest health indices, as you can see from the table I had presented earlier. In 1994, it was confronted by a human calamity of monumental proportion, the famous Rwanda genocide, which further decimated the population and its physical and political infrastructure. However, today, Rwanda has one of the best educational and health infrastructure in Africa and has made the greatest progress in improving health indices, even surpassing South Africa. And its economy is one of the fastest growing. So what made the difference? Despite receiving the least amount and spending one of the smallest amounts on health, Rwanda was able to achieve what they did by centralized planning, emphasizing primary health care, focusing on training of health workers, especially at the community level, providing universal health insurance, especially at the community level, basing policies on available data, and centralizing scientific research. In all this happened in an atmosphere of political stability, committed leadership, strong governance, fiscal and administrative decentralization, and zero tolerance for corruption. My own take is not about how much is committed to health or educational system that counts. It is how the resources, both human and material, are effectively administered, distributed, and utilized. Every successful strategy revolves around people with the right mindset, right training, and the right motivation to perform. To buttress the point above, let me share with you some of the excerpts of Professor Folabi Olumide's thoughts at the inception of LASU in 1983. He said, and I quote, "It was not easy building from the scratch. I had the advantage of having started the building of the medical school for Ogun State from a similar level. I began with staff development and curricular development." He would go on to say of the pioneer administrative staff of LASU, "These special associates shared with me the passion to make LASU great, with mission to produce a university of excellence and to do something that seemed impossible, build a university which students will be proud of." In other words, people run a system, no matter, and they matter, and should be adequately trained and motivated to do so effectively and efficiently. I want to now look at the training of our health professionals. Briefly, medical education started in 1927 with the establishment of the Yaba School. Then the Elliott Commission on Higher Education in 1948 led to the establishment of University College London at Ibadan, with the Faculty of Medicine as one of the initial faculties. Then in 1960, the Ashby Commission on Higher Education recommended the establishment of more training institutions, and that led to establishment of the University of Lagos and the 3 regional governments also established universities with their medical faculties. Clearly, medical education has expanded rapidly with the expansion of universities, and we now have federal and state governments, as well as other organizations and private individuals owning universities with medical schools. Regulation of medical education is through the NUC and the regulatory bodies such as Medical and Dental Council, Nursing and Midwives Council, etc. For nurses, formal training of nurses started in about 1952 in Ibadan with the establishment of the first school of nursing. Today, there are about 19 universities with 19 faculties of pharmacy. So there has been a lot of growth in medical education. Looking at the way we used to teach was basically didactic lectures, practicals and demonstration, bedside teaching. Like apprentices, students often watch their masters at work, copying faithfully their good as well as their bad habits, which were often passed down to the next generation. Students' assessments were subjective, and what was examined was often based on what was interesting but esoteric, rather than the common ailments and conditions students might face in real life. Stories were told of an examiner in anatomy who would toss a bone in the air, and in the fleeting moments expected the student to identify the bone correctly with the muscles that originated and inserted to it. With hindsight, despite these weaknesses in the training, great good in caring for humanity was achieved by those who went before us, and we salute their achievements. What are the current realities? The question arises how we can improve what we are doing and what we are doing. It has become clear that health workers we have produced in the past reflected the circumstances of their training, and while they were gifted in the arts and craft of their various professions, they were distant from their students, their patients, and other members of the health team, and they lacked the appropriate communication skill. There was also the dearth of innovation and entrepreneurship among our young graduates. Aside from the student-related problems, we live in changing times with changing population who are more educated and more politically aware of their rights. We live in a changing world that is more industrialized and global, with climate and technology connecting us faster. It is said we live in a digital age as opposed to the analog age of 30 plus years ago. This year, incidentally, marks the 30th year of the internet, World Wide Web. Now, there are a number of challenges facing us as Nigerians, training Nigerians. The first I'm going to touch about, I'm going to select just about 3. Investment in healthcare and education. As shown in Table 1, there has been a significant underfunding of healthcare and education. And I suspect the philosophy of free healthcare and education started with the missionaries and the colonialists and was adopted by the early nationalists. And I salute Alhaji Jakonde here, who is one of the early nationalists, as a form of people-oriented social welfare. The oil boom of the 70s perpetuated the philosophy that these social rights were given and should be provided. While on the surface it is a laudable ideal, the reality then and now is that someone was and is always paying for it, usually government through taxes. In truth, there are never free lunches, even in Freetown. Professor Falade Olumide hits the nail on the head when he said, and I quote, "University education is not and cannot be cheap. It cannot be free except you are on a scholarship. We need to get the society involved in university education because government alone cannot sponsor it." He went on to say that, and I quote, "We cannot have good facilities and fund extensive research without proper funding." The training of health personnel is capital intensive and expensive. The current financing model for public tertiary education is unsustainable if excellence is our goal. In fact, it is not working. The current situation where we are benchmarking ourselves on mediocrity rather than on excellence and quality will not augur well for national development and global competitiveness. The argument that the appropriate financing of tertiary education will disenfranchise the poor can be countered if state and federal government, as well as philanthropists who are socially mindful, will provide grants, bursaries, and scholarships to deserving, financially challenged students. The second challenge I'm going to touch on is the quality of our products. And a lot has been said about the drop in the quality of our graduates in our educational system, the discord among members of the healthcare team, the shortage of postgraduate training positions, and the dependence of our graduates on paid employment. Because of the dysfunction among personnel in the health system, the population have been voting with their feet to alternative care, even quacks and charlatans who offer wonder cures and alternative pathways to healing. There's the issue of the attitude of health workers to continued professional development. As it is now, it is a requirement for renewal of annual practicing license for most of the health professionals. The single premise is that knowledge is dynamic and constantly changes, and those in practice need to keep up with the changes. The challenge is the need to enforce continuing medical education when it should be a spontaneous desire if we have trained our students to be lifelong learners. The third challenge is the elephant in the room, brain drain. Another reality is the problem of internal and external brain drain, where a significant number of our graduates have either left the profession for other non-medical professions such as banking and oil and gas and business, or have emigrated for professional and financial fulfillment. As mentioned earlier, of the 72,000 doctors Nigeria has produced, about 40,000 are in diaspora. Of the 242,000 nurses and midwives, about 100,000 are abroad. Of about the 24,000 pharmacists, about 4,000 are abroad. And it is true for all the professions. For our population, these numbers are even more inadequate. And there are gross discrepancies between urban and rural Nigeria, between Lagos, Port Harcourt, Abuja versus other cities. There's such a distortion of the distribution of health workers. Such is the dire situation we find ourselves, compounded by the fact that 90% of any final year class is applying to go abroad. In the last month, I have written 10 letters of recommendation for our students and doctors who want to go abroad. And I can't stop them. I'll keep writing if they are good students. The picture, I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with this picture, Vanguard of last month, which showed Nigerian doctors waiting to be interviewed for jobs in Saudi Arabia. And I'm told it was a large hall and it was packed full. Let's look at the role of universities and regulatory bodies. The figure illustrates the interrelated roles of the various building blocks that go into training of our students, whose goal is the benefit of society. Clearly, universities and various regulatory bodies have significant roles to play in the training of our health professionals. Other institutions, such as teaching hospitals, health schools of health technology, our postgraduate colleges, also have a role to play. However, what is common to most institutions run by government is the decaying infrastructure, shortage of qualified teaching staff, and perennial underfunding by the proprietors. And there is the issue of lack of standardization of materials taught. Now, what are we to do? Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, from the foregoing, it is self-evident that all is not well with Nigerian education and health system that has fallen short from the vision of our founding fathers. In my inaugural lecture in 2015, I noted that while what is not sometimes self-evident is the collective responsibility we share in solving the problems and mitigating the challenges, it appears to me that the national approach of solving problems, selective rather than general, favoring a few rather than generality, exclusive rather than inclusive, regional rather than national, ad hoc rather than systematic, local rather than global, will not allow a holistic approach to solving problems that bedevil us as a nation. Technology has made the world a global village, and we cannot be oblivious of current trends and global best practice. So what should we do to address the health, manpower, and educational crisis and challenges that are imperative to improving healthcare in Nigeria? In going forward, while I'm not suggesting that what I would be preferring is all that will be needed to improve the health of Nigerians, as stated earlier, looking at the Rwanda example, it will require a combination of strategies involving a multiplicity of institutions and disciplines to make a significant difference. My premise is simple. If everyone within their own sphere of influence decide to do things in a coordinated, systematic fashion, guided by a national plan of goal, indeed, we will make progress. Barack Obama, the 44th president of the US, said, and I quote, "If you are walking down the right path and you are willing to keep walking, eventually you will make progress." But the question is, are we on the right path? Because it's only if you're on the right path that you will make progress. Having identified that the sphere of our influence is the university, I believe if we play our part in collaboration and in cooperation with other stakeholders, we will make progress with improving our health indices. In facing the problems that bedevil us, I will again draw inspiration from our honoree and other eminent scholars and suggest what we can do. In a seminar paper delivered to the 6th University of Lagos alumni, Professor Shukweluwe Memorial Lecture, Professor Larry Fago, VC LASU, suggested the need for commodification of the educational system as a way of improving university education in Nigeria. Professor Fago, SAN, argued, as expected of a distinguished and erudite lawyer, that we must rethink the educational system and its products, our students, as a commodity that the society needs for its collective benefit. He further stated that attention to all the processes will therefore be necessary to ensure a good product. I am reminded of an advert for Japanese manufacturing, which simply stated, "Good thinking, good products." He went on to make cross-cutting recommendations, highlighting the various roles government, regulatory bodies, private sector, in the need for research and development, partnering with tertiary institutions, alumni, and wealthy individuals can play in improving our educational system. In applying what he has suggested to health, I'm going to suggest that we need to enhance students' academic ability and motivation, refashion a more dynamic and student-centered curriculum, optimize technological innovations for instruction and learning, build better capacity among our faculty for teaching and research, encourage innovation and entrepreneurship among our students, and properly motivate and reward excellence. Enhancing students' academic ability and motivation. To ensure quality of our products, we need to be mindful of the students who enter our various programs. Much has been said about the falling standard of education. However, analysis suggests that it's an overgeneralization of the problem. Anecdotally, a significant proportion of our graduates are performing outstandingly well nationally and in the diaspora. Needless, we need to take a cue from other countries where admission into programs goes beyond scholastic achievement. But in addition, there's an assessment of motivation and mental preparedness through essays or interviews. Most top-ranked universities and multinational organizations do this. In my career as an educator, I have met students who ab initio had no desire to pursue the course of study, and yet obviously have taken up a space that would have been better utilized by a more motivated student. The extra burden of reading and marking essays objectively and conducting interviews for prospective students must be weighed against the need to assure quality of admitted students. Dynamic and student-centered curricula. If there is one area we can draw inspiration from Professor Olumide, it is this one. Throughout his career, he has been actively involved in curriculum development with the sole objective of making his students better lifelong learners. Professor Olumide joined the College of Medicine of the University of Lagos in 1974 at a time when it was decided that there was a need to refashion the medical and dental curriculum. He joined the likes of late Professor Ade Elebute and I see Professor Frank Okizo in the audience, my teacher. You're welcome, sir. Who midwives the introduction of the new curriculum as it was then known. It was Professor Folabi Olumide's responsibility as the Dean of the School of Clinical Sciences to ensure its implementation. Having seen the deficiencies of our traditional curriculum, it is important that universities need to ensure regular curriculum review. It is important that our curricula must teach our professionals in a systematic and integrated manner, putting the patient at the center of care. The curriculum must teach communication, and the professional must understand the need for collaboration and teamwork with other health professionals. We need to train lifelong learners who value professionalism and career development. The examples from Lagos and Ibadan are instructive as they have reviewed their medical, dental, and other professional curricula to ensure that it is student-centered and relevant to the communities, with emphasis on what the student must know and should know. It is instructive that the NUC has adopted this philosophy as well. However, to have the impact we desire on our health indices, more attention must be paid on the curriculum of lower cadres of health workers, such as community health extension workers and officers, who are on the front line of the battles against disease and ignorance. If primary health care is the foundation of which an effective health system is built, then the person working in the community who can deliver effective maternal and newborn care, who can articulate health promotion strategies to prevent and chronic diseases, who can correctly identify those needing reference, and who can communicate with the community will be the most critical factor for successful implementation. Optimizing technological innovations for instruction and learning. There is no doubt that where students learn and how the content is delivered contributes to how effectively they learn. Technology has significantly improved access to up-to-date information at the price of a phone data plan. Also, the deployment of virtual reality and clinical simulation has improved teaching and learning. A few institutions in Nigeria have invested in laboratory and clinical simulation, and I must inform you that this will soon be required for accreditation of programs in the health sciences. The use of e-learning platforms in our classrooms will no doubt improve the learning experience of our students. And of course, it has been argued that many developing countries have already improved their ICT systems. The question is not whether, but how to deploy technology to facilitate continuous professional development. And I want at this point to give kudos to the federal government and LASU, who insisted on and got special intervention funds, needs assessment, and TED fund for upgrading teaching facilities across our public tertiary institutions. An example of an exciting application of technology is the Project ECHO, run by the University of New Mexico, USA. And it's based on the concept of providing continuing medical education to build capacity of community-based doctors and health workers to deliver expert care to sites where the experts cannot reach. This is by regular online tutoring, mentoring, and giving feedback to the health workers on a specific topic using a hub and spoke model. This has been successfully used in Tanzania and South Africa and recently introduced in Nigeria for the community-based management of viral hepatitis B and C infections, leading causes of liver disease and cancer worldwide. We need to build better capacity among our teaching, research, and leadership. Professor Falabi Odunde recognized this as a key ingredient for high standards and invested in human resources around him, both academic and non-academic. Our leaders at all levels will do well to imbibe this important lesson from Professor Olumide. Bill and Melinda Gates, on a visit to Nigeria in 2018, stated that, and I quote, "The important choice you can make is to maximize your greatest resource, the Nigerian people. Nigeria will thrive when every Nigerian is able to thrive. If you invest in their health, education, and opportunities, the human capital we are talking about today, then they will lay the foundation for sustained prosperity. If you don't, however, then it is very important to recognize that there will be a sharp limit on how much the country can grow." Key to building capacity in the workforce is the issue of mentorship. Mentorship is the provision of guidance by a more experienced person to a more junior person. It is one of the hallmarks of impactful academic and institutional leadership that ensures the right attitudes, behaviors are passed on to the successive generation. And I again salute the mentorship of people like Professor Falabi Olumide and also my other teacher in the audience, Emeritus Professor Yetunde Olumide, for giving us the leadership and the mentorship. Whatever institution any institution makes on its staff will always pay huge dividends immediately and in the future of any such institution. Again, kudos must be given to TEDFund for providing grants for PhD training and conference attendance. I also know that progressive universities have set aside funds for staff development through the establishment of human resources departments or personnel units in the universities. Next, we need to encourage innovation and entrepreneurship among students and faculty. I believe this is one of the most exciting things any university can do to be relevant and to retain its talent and to encourage innovation and entrepreneurship among staff and students. These skills will enable individuals to identify and create opportunities for self-fulfillment and actualization despite the economic and political climate. It is heartwarming to note that universities have embraced the idea of innovation and entrepreneurship with the establishment of research centers, innovation and incubation hubs, and giving graduating students the formal certificates to show capacity to innovate and establish businesses. And I know that if you do that, chances are these youths who are so empowered are much less likely to emigrate. Finally, we need to properly motivate and reward excellence. If we are to inculcate and sustain the spirit of excellence, then we need to devise ways of motivating people and rewarding them. The current structure, where people get the same remuneration irrespective of work output, demotivates hard workers and disincentivizes workers. At the end of it, the whole system suffers. Where salaries are guaranteed, a system should be in place where outstanding staff are given special consideration for awards and access to grants. It is time that we include students, subordinates, and peer assessment of staff as a criterion for promotion as is done in developed countries. The fundamental challenge to this rethinking and improving medical education is the risk of producing high-quality graduates for export. In other words, wouldn't more of our graduates leave knowing that they're more globally competitive? There is no simple answer, and I believe that we must continue to improve and pursue excellence despite the risks. As said by Mark Zuckerberg, in a world that is changing really quickly, the biggest risk is not taking any risk. The push and pull factors that determine brain drain will always be there. What we need to do is treat our professionals better and create an environment where stakeholders see investment in education and health as profitable. And I want to give you two examples, Ghana and India. We are all living witnesses. In the early 80s, Ghanaian professionals left Ghana in droves because of the political and economic climate. And our subsequent short-sighted response to our regional brother in the now infamous Ghana Must Go. Today, the Ghanaian economy, health, and education is the toast of West Africa and the hub for medical tourism and education of our children, all driven by Ghanaians at home and those who return from the diaspora. The story is similar with India, who have now one of the best Western standard health systems and a major hub of global medical tourism. As in Ghana, the main drivers were Indian professionals at home and from the diaspora. The motivation for our people, for people like Professor Olumide to return from Canada to contribute their quota to national development is the social consciousness to do so, imbibed from the many civics lessons he and many in his generation received as children in school. It is a great tragedy that civics is no longer offered in our schools. It is virtually impossible to create a perfect environment for people to stay or return from the diaspora. It is only when we develop a sense of civic duty and social consciousness to give back to society will we see the critical mass necessary for change. Meanwhile, the point is, we should not be afraid of our colleagues in diaspora. We and governments need to introduce policies and investment incentives to encourage them to return, to invest their resources and knowledge. And I believe within a generation, we can reap those dividends. President John F. Kennedy of the United States once said, "Ask not what your country can do for you, but what you can do for your country." It is this sense of civic duty we need and already have to make change. Also, we need to increase our training capacity and quotas, especially for middle-level community-based health manpower, so that even when there is migration, there will be a critical mass left to take care of our teeming population. The point is highlighted by Professor Oluwole, who noted that countries that have made significant progress in improving maternal, newborn, and child health have addressed the health workforce through a systematic approach that allows them to train, retain, and sustain their human resources for health. Honorable Minister, Mr. Vice Chancellor, I have highlighted the improving but still unacceptable health indices in Nigeria. I have shown with the example from Rwanda that improving our health indices is not a function of how rich we are economically, but a function of the equitable distribution and access to resources in an atmosphere of good leadership, devoid of strife and corruption, where everyone playing their parts in line with national agenda. I have shown that as teachers and administrators in institutions, we need to rethink how we train our health workforce to achieve the desired results. The challenges of funding of tertiary education and brain drain are discussed. Like Rwanda, we need to have selfless, result-oriented, purposeful leadership at all levels of government and society, without which we will be status quo ante. In conclusion, we have much to learn from the pioneering efforts of our icon, Professor Olufolabi Ayodeji Olumide, whose life and career resonates within us and teaches this and coming generations that change, no matter the obstacles, is possible, and it starts with us. The last verse of the school song of CMS Grammar School, which Professor Folabi Olumide attended, I also attended, and when they are paying, begins with a prophetic statement: Africa will surely rise. It's a belief we must fervently hold on to. Acknowledgements. I want to acknowledge God, through whom all things are made possible for gathering us here today at this time to listen to this lecture. I want to thank the LASU Alumni Association for the great honor of giving the first of this lecture series in honor of my teacher, Professor Olumide, a truly quintessential gentleman and highly respected teacher, surgeon, and university administrator. I want to also appreciate the principal officers, staff, and students of LASU and the inspiring leadership of the Vice Chancellor, Professor Larry Fabo, SAN, is duly acknowledged. His thoughts on commodification of education influenced my thinking on the problems of tertiary education in Nigeria. This lecture would not have been possible without the material obtained from the honoree himself, who kindly gave me a copy of his autobiography and his anthology of poems. I also want to appreciate material I received from his associates, Professor Oshun and Professor Okebukola, who gave me some material and shared some of their insights with me, and I appreciate them for the materials they provided. I want to appreciate the proofreading and insights on the subject matter by my wife, Professor Olufunmilayo Leshi, and Dr. Obanlare Balu, both of the College of Medicine. I thought I should share with you some of the thoughts from Professor Olumide, which I have selected from his poems called I Sing. By the way, it is a book of poems I recommend to everyone. He said, and I quote, on happiness: happiness is the quintessence of serene equanimity, a cocktail of peace and joy, contentment, excitement, achievement, fulfillment, and being at peace with oneself, one's world, and one's God. On life and the need for ordered steps, he says, it is a thing of joy for me to sit and think of what the years may bring, or what is man's next ploy. To think of yesterdays of smiles and sorrows, both. Reflect on previous growth, on what I will be today. He concludes by saying, my life is God's, not mine, to try and understand. My lifelong days he planned, I will take one at a time. And finally, on the need to stand up for something and for truth, he says, he who seeks noble acts to undertake, let him not think of gratitude, for rarely emerges in man's earthly equation. Let them stand tall, stand firm now, or in a million years from now. Let them genuinely smile, straight and sweet, unfettered, or let them indignantly frown, creased forehead of true concern. For truth liberates, slashes the shackles, releases one's knotted, twisted heart. Equanimity returns. Now, a million years from now, let such men stand and be counted. Recurring themes in Professor Olumide's poems are trust in God, enjoyment of nature, and equanimity, which means mental calmness, composure, evenness of temper, especially in a difficult situation. These are a few of his many defining qualities. I thank you for your attention and for the invitation.
Thank you very much, sir, for a very insightful lecture. That was a beautiful one. That's a beautiful one. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Please permit me to recognize Dr. Jumoke Odunwale. She's Senior Social Assistant to the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria on Trade and Investment, and daughter of Professor Lumide. Please also permit me to recognize some of his special guests. Mr. and Mrs. Tunde Adeni, Coordinator of Harvest Singers, Chief and Chief Mrs. Femi Adeni Williams, Professor Femi Showemimo, Mr. and Mrs. Wale Kalgo, Otumba Tubogo, Retired Permanent Secretary, Federal Ministry, Mr. and Mrs. Lasende, Mr. and Mrs. Rotimi Ashley Dejo, Mr. Yoniba Dejo Okonsoya, Group Managing Director of CNC Connect, Retired Rear Admiral Olufemi Olumide, brother of Professor Olumide, then Ambassador Dekunle and Professor Yetunde Olumide, Professor Shola Dewumi, former Lagos State Commissioner for Commerce and Director of First Bank of Nigeria. We also have Professor Frank Okizo and Professor Abidin Sani. From the Lagos State University, we recognize the presence of the Provost of the College of Medicine, Lagos State University, deans, directors, and other professors. You are recognized. At this juncture, I call on some people to give their goodwill messages. Please, you just have 1 minute each. First, a representative of the family of Professor Lumide. Our third show will be coming up shortly. So now I'll call on the representative of the oldest staff of LASU that worked with Professor Lumide, and I'll call on two, Alhaji Seriki and Olori Esther Ashafa. Please.
The Honorable Minister of Affairs, Mr. Holland, the Vice Chancellor of Lagos University, all on behalf of all duly observed. First and foremost, I think I feel privileged to be amongst you this morning. It's not showing. That's why I'm not here. And also thank God for starting one is alive to witness this occasion. I have gone at one village to work as a primary staff with Professor Olabulide. One thing I always say anytime I have an opportunity is the leadership quality of Olabulide. I remember when we started this, he was living on the campus of university. And never started, Professor Olabulide was on the campus. So when you have a leader who shows that kind of punctuality, I mean, I don't know what to do what they do. And I can tell you what late in the night. Sometimes I ask where he gets the energy. Besides that, so many things happen, and one gets home.
Let's just use
You
one wire. Let's see where it can get to.
and you look at those things that happen.
Let's change it.
When you see the base, the cooperation, the dedication to work of all the permanent staff of this university at that time, we did not have closing time. Because the one the VC is around, who are you to tell the VC I'm going home? So he led by example. And as I said, I am privileged to work with him. And I'm happy that today is alive to see this occasion. You couldn't have thanked God more than this. I'm not to do more than that. Thank you very much, and God bless you.
The Honorable Minister of Health, let me stand on the existing protocol so that I can save time. I give God the glory for the opportunity to be here today and to witness this big day. I regard it as a big day because it is a day when the pioneer, Vice Chancellor of LASU University, is being honored in a manner that is beyond what one can really expect from the alumni. I give God the glory for this. I remember when the university was started, I joined in 1984, and at that time, the nickname that was given to a professor was Workaholic. I remember that. We call him Professor Workaholic. Because usually, as pioneer staff, in the administration, we have to be in the office by 7 o'clock. We shouldn't get to the office before us. And we have work program that has stayed in my memory for so long. It is management by walking around. Professor Olumide will take all the managers on ground and we will walk around the compound to see the projects on ground and see them firsthand. And you make corrections as you move around. We thank God that today has been a wonderful day, and I would want to appeal to all the staff of LASU that it pays to work hard. Working hard in a university is something which I believe is still necessary at this particular time. And I want to add one other thing, which is very essential, which you may think is not common again in our society. Everyone, every member of staff was very honest with the job. Nobody takes a kickback from anybody. I stand to say this because I was the first acting registrar of the university, and I knew what pioneer staff went through. We give God the glory that today we can see the university growing. And I pray that it will continue to grow from strength to strength in the name of Jesus.
Hello? You can't cast spell on this mic. We have to continue to give God the glory. And I want to join the last speaker by saying that we have every cause to thank the Lord. Without the last speaker, who has that singular power in 1984 to send me home or continue to be part of the pioneer, she has a singular power. When she calls some of us that were wrongly put on a program, and then she has to review our WAEC, and then she asked me, would you like to speak? Because I did not belong in Islamic studies. I don't know how I got my name on it. Scoring 240 on JAM. So the honesty was there. As an orphan, she has that power there. And by His grace, I will celebrate her one day. She did not remember, but she did that for me. And that is how I ended up in the history class almost a month after we resumed. I thank you, ma'am. Thank you very much.
And today you are a professor of history. Now I call on a representative of the LASU alumni, Mrs. Okay. Yes, Mrs. Ifeanyi Takuro, please 1 minute. After that, we'll call on Professor Kizo, also 1 minute. Please get a mic to them. Good.
May I correct the name? It's Mrs. Takuro Niyedoni. I was to tell you Yedoni when I was there. May I stand on the existing protocol? I do not possess the capability to even alter what Professor Fagbo has, the foundation that he has laid. I adopt the existing protocol. He gives me great honor to perform this onerous task. And all I want to say, without wasting our time, first and foremost, I want to give God all the glory. I remember that time at the LASU, there was this day, the auditorium at the LASU, if I recall very well. There were certain challenges in the university, and Professor Olumide needed to address his students. I sat with the students, students making comments right, left, and center. By the time he walked in to the podium, much as the students were shouting, cheering at him and everything, by the time he picked the microphone, the first thing he said is that to make LASU great, it is a task that must be done. With due respect, sir, I want to assure you that the fact that I'm here today to say this attests to the fact that that task has been done. And it is being sustained. Why will I say that? Many members of the alumni, those on the high table and those on the other side of the table, on the high table too, they will attest to the fact that there is nowhere a LASU will get to. There are some universities, you finish from some universities, regardless of what people were saying at that time, that they are from this glorified secondary school. I can assure you, sir, that your students, till date, whenever we see ourselves, we don't hide ourselves. Because each LASU, wherever God has positioned us to be, we have excelled. Why? Because of the foundation that we got here. Why am I saying this, sir? They said it's goodwill. My thoughts goes with you on behalf of the LASU alumni. You laid a very solid foundation. For those of us that passed through the faculty of law, I know what we face. But with what we face, they took up, it was as if, in spite of what everybody was saying, our lecturers, they instilled the diligence and hard work thing, hard work and diligence thing in us. Wherever you find a last one, to the glory of God, I'm in active private practice. I double up as an adjunct at the Nigerian Law School. Not because of what I can do, but because of the foundation that I received from here. Sir, time will not permit me to state how your students have been, your former students, even those that I know, my niece passed through this institution, my nephew passed through this institution, they are holding their forts all over the world. And for those, our board of trustees, the president is here, our chairman is here, Mr. Chairman of the LASU branch in Abuja. We were fortunate to work together with Olawanye and Co. I thank God that even in Abuja, he's making waves. He's here present with us. We are LASU. We are proud. Time has gone. I thank God. If you go and look at my social media, there was no time I hid that I'm a last wife. You will see some, immediately they left LASU. They went to other universities to obtain their masters. That is what they will put there. For most of us, majority of your students that are holding their fort on their social media page, on their complimentary card, LASU is always resonated there. We had no reason to put any other degree. Even though we achieved it, we have no reason to use another university to cover up that we are product of this great institution. Make LASU great. It is a task that is being sustained, and I believe God will help us to continue to sustain it in Jesus' name.
Amen.
I want to appreciate the family of Professor Lumide. Sir, it is a great honor for you that this is being done when you are alive, sir. And the fact, when your children, when they were being mentioned, I was very glad that even the seed that you have sown in us, God has joyfully rewarded you with your good children. Time will not permit me, I recognize Dr. Okobeta Oshu, and dedication. It's one of the reasons why I got into LASU. Thank you.
We are LASU. We are glad. Professor Kiso, please. Yes. 1 minute back.
From the last speaker, in LASU, 1 minute is 30 minutes. I think first, I would like to congratulate the Olumide family. Olabi, children, and I'm related to them. Don't ask me how. But to pay part of my dowry, I have to pay special tribute to Olabi's wife, Lady Bola Rose Olumide, the first female registrar of the University of Lagos. All that can shine you see on Olabi's face. I also like to thank the alumni for honoring him. There's no point waiting until he's dead. Then you start singing. Well, I saw some alumni sitting behind me. That Olabi and I, and some of us sitting down there, we like to toast him in champagne. I know you are near Badagry, but we drink champagne in central Lagos. I would also like to thank and congratulate the guest speaker. Very humble. He mentioned his wife, who is also a professor. We old people will mention his father, who was also a professor, who was gone. What he has said, please, I hope you all pay attention, especially the minister. Luckily, he's a doctor. If it's in England or some other places, Olabi will hold 2 chairs. Chair of Surgery, Gastroenterology, and Chair of Medical Education. The topic is what we talked about
45 years ago. If I'm wrong, correct me. The first provost of the College of Medicine of Lagos was appointed by the head of state, Thomas. The second was by the head of state. Those of you who are doctors, you now see how big medicine was. But we boys, our boys, we decided that we were going to elect our provost. And the first one we elected was Edebute, who died about 2 months ago. One of the leading boys in that team is Folabi Olumide. We taught and we did the education. And Folabi was in charge of medical education committee. I was on it. We sat down and said, is that what we've been doing? Is that what the society wants? We answered the questions, and that's what Professor Les is trying to do. I don't want to talk too long. But we did a lot, and this country was moving. In Hanoi, we also know we had a great minister who was world-renowned, Professor Kuti. Professor Kuti didn't look for grants. They were begging him because they could see what he was doing long before Kigali. After Folabi became provost of that university medical school in Ijebu, it is my wife's village, and he got this job, the first thing he did was to assemble boys. And because he is an Olumide, he went to go to college, he went to UI, he went to Canada. He was determined to give this country and especially state the best possible with his experience. And that's how it started. And we are making progress. And I hope we are still making progress. But before I sit down, you don't have a paper like this and bury it. The first rethinking and planning we did, the paperwork was as high as this. The final thing was codified into the little green book. The little green book, as opposed to the little red book the Chinese and produced. Folabi didn't stop in undergraduate education. He was also tops in postgraduate education. He was editor of the Nigerian Medical Journal. We were in every ASU strike together, and we were in every NMA strike together. I am now, and I have retired. Mr. Minister, when we retire, we are not paid. Our supplementation is not taken into consideration. I will just stop. I think you are working fast. No, but the postgraduate program we produce with Folabi, England has copied. What did I say? England has copied. Our students complain. When the external examiners came here, their problem was our standard was too high. I hope it's still the same. I'm a dentist. Last thing I'm going to say. I won't take your teeth out. Don't worry, we don't take teeth out. But when University of Ghana, because guess what I mentioned Ghana, started a dental school, they were taking 10 students. At the end of basic science, they will send 5 to Manchester, 5 to 9, Julia. They won't do that today. Please, Mr. Minister, I want to suggest, because I'm old, only 2 people here are older than me. I like you and I want to go home. Let us take this paper and rethink about health. It's no point crying about tourism. The people doing the tourism are the big men now. The poor man can't do tourism. This is here. And like I said, looking for funds. If you are doing well, you will get funds. Finally, I'm going to give you a citation for Professor Olumide. I said it before. Part of it is to do with the Sorbonne University. I'm going to face him and say it in Latin. And to show you I'm not fake, I will translate. Very proud. And it runs like this. Hip 7, Professor Olumide, Magister Klaus Hik et Ubique of his surrounding. If you disagree with me when I translate, put your hand up. Here sits Professor Olumide, a great and famous teacher here and anywhere in the world. Thank you. Thank you very much. Nobody could contradict his translation. So on this note, we go to presentation of flags. But please, there is a reception for the special guests. So if you were not served here, don't worry, there is a reception for you and this is quadrangle. Thank you. So right now, I want to invite the Vice Chancellor to present the flag to the Honorable Minister. Honorable Minister, sir. Honorable Minister. Yes. Honorable Minister, sir. You have done us proud by identifying with our institution today. And for this, on behalf of the alumni of the Lagos State University, we say thank you to you for your efforts in revamping the health sector and commitment to public education. For this next one, I'm going to ask Professor Folabi Olumide to please come forward. And I'm going to ask, because I have a quiz, husband to be Professor Olumide can collect this. That quiz is for Professor Mrs. Olumide. Please come forward. Papa, please stand here, sir. Papa, please stand here. Mommy, Papa can only go home if you answer a question that I'm going to pose to you here today. Papa, the very first time I came to meet you, 3 years, 4 months ago, when I was appointed Vice Chancellor, you noted to me your concern that you are deeply worried the challenges ongoing at the Lagos State University. And I told you that we will surmount the challenges and move forward. The question, Mommy, with what you have seen today and what is he fulfilled? Very much so. Thank you very much, sir. Papa, for laying and setting a last... No, Mama, don't go. Look, I can't do this alone, man. Please, man. For laying and setting in LASU the foundation of excellence in learning, teaching, and research, and for having this pillar who supported you to make that laudable foundation for us. This is being presented to you on behalf of the alumni. Papa said it was the Vice Chancellor of Vice Chancellor, so he will say something over that. The question was asked, and it was directed to my wife. And I told the Vice Chancellor, not to my wife alone, I will answer too. And my answer, we are LASU. To make LASU great, we can start from the
task that is being done and the task that will continue to be done. Congratulations.
I think there was a military person that said that
Now,
to move Nigeria forward.
I'll call on General Isikage, the National President of LASU, Alumni Association, to present the next plan. General.
Hello, Baba. On behalf of the Lagos State University Alumni Association, please sit down, sir. We respectfully present this to you for your visionary, founding excellent spirit and service to education. Congratulations. Shola, we are presenting this to you on behalf of your great father for his total commitment and contribution to the LASU project. Congratulations.
This flag is a flag of recognition presented to Oba Adedotun Badibo III for his royal support for education as a tool for social engineering. Thank you, sir.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of His Royal Majesty, Oba Dr. Adedotun Aremobadibo, Ogukano IV, Alake and the Paramount of Ebana, I want to thank you for this gift, for this award, and also to thank you for honoring an Eba son, one of us, Professor Folabi Olumide. Thank you so much and God bless you.
Thank you very much. So I call on Mr. Shureki to present the next one. So, the next flag is for the guest speaker of today. Let's welcome Professor Leslie. And it is to be presented by the chairman of the BOT LASU Alumni Association, Mr. Tsunaki.
For your excellent research and presentation at the maiden lecture of Folabi Olumide annual lecture series, I hereby present this to you on behalf of Lagos State University Alumni Association.
I've been informed that the first visitor to the Lagos State University and former Executive Governor of Lagos State, Alhaji Lateef Dakandu, wants to say something.
Which you are entering to the Lagos State University. Please greet Dr. Osaki Eaguri, Professor Olariwaju Febo, Professor Folabi Olumide, Mr. Tai Olateju, Professor Provision, and Major General Sisi Sakindi, National President of LASU. To this
Okay. I'd like to call on Mrs. Oyinko Badejo Musoya. Please.
Mr. Chairman, sir, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, when we were in school here, the first test of your knowledge is to know the birthday of our VC. This is a surprise to him. Our birthday, the birthday of our pioneer VC, is a few days away. And we don't want today to pass without bringing a cake for him to start the series of celebration. So I'll call our VC to lead us to the presentation of this cake. Happy birthday.
Mr. President, you cannot just unilaterally take that kind of decision. Papa will constitute Senate now and give approval for this because it's been done in advance. So, Papa, do you approve that this birthday we fast track it to today and then next week we do it again?
Approve. Thank you, my VC. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. For he's a jolly good fellow. For he's a jolly good fellow. For he's a jolly good fellow.
born, hooray! For he is a jolly good fellow. For he is a jolly good fellow. For he is a jolly good fellow. And so sing all of us. Hip, hip, hip! Hip, hip, hip! Louder! Hip, hip, hip! Now, it is time for group photographs. First, the first will be produced on the head table here. Why? On the high table here. Please, just come here for the group photograph. Professor Lee, sir. Please come up. Professor Lee, sir. So, please, the photographer, okay. Now, members of the LASU management, deans, directors, please come up here. LASU management, they are on their way. Deans and directors present, please join. Deans and directors, please join.
Come in. I need to take it. Please. Nobody should just touch anything.
So, now I would like to invite the chairman of Lagos branch to give his vote of thanks. Chairman, Lagos branch, please come out for the vote of thanks. Great last one. Great last one. Greatest of the greatest of the greatest last one. Well, so much speeches been rendered here today. Nothing else to our Honorable Minister Utara Konde and to thank our honoree, Professor Folabi Olumide, for the opportunity to tell us today. I think that the lecture series that we have instituted today were now to the benefit of humanity. I also would like to thank every one of us, particularly our POP chairman, Mr. Matai Shonoki, for his indefatigable spirit, our national president for his leadership and vision, members of the Lagos branch, members of the national executive, members particularly of the planning committee, starting from Professor Akin Tijani, Mrs. Jemisi Kolade, Mrs. Ifere Doni, Professor Ladipo, Professor Plikis, Professor Plikis Idowu, and the office of the alumni headed by the Chancellor. I thank you all for making this day a successful one. I pray we will meet again next year because that is the state of the alumni lecture. Thank you. VIP will please come meet us at the Visit Sogrango. At this point, I'd like to yield the mic to Mrs. Oyi. That's okay.
ladies and gentlemen, I know everybody is distracted now and taking pictures, but on behalf of my father, Professor Falabi Olumide, I'd like to say a big thank you to everyone. I actually just came in from Kigali now, and I came straight from the airport, so I had this long speech prepared. Very nice speech, but everybody's standing up now, nobody will listen to it. But suffice to say, I want to say thank you very, very much to the alumni of LASU. LASU holds a very, very special place in our family. When my dad was made Vice Chancellor of LASU, I was just entering University of Lagos. And he said to me, "You're not going to go to Unilag, you're going to come to LASU." And I said, "No way." The greatest dream of every young girl at the time was to attend University of Lagos. Suffice to say, by the time the very first set of law students from Lagos State University attended the law school, and the only first class that year was from a graduate of Lagos State University by name Mr. Ige Bolode, who he later taught me law. By the time that happened, I wish I had actually gone to LASU. So he was right, as he usually is. We're very happy that finally, so many years after my father was VC, he's been recognized by Lagos State University. They say a prophet is never accepted in his hometown. Today, a prophet has been acknowledged in his home, and we're very, very happy. We're very proud to be associated with LASU. We're grateful to the Alumni Association, to the professor, to the Vice Chancellor, Professor Lane Kago, Senior Advocate of Nigeria. To my big brother, Professor Falabi, it's almost surreal that he's actually a professor just like his dad. I remember his dad as a professor of pediatrics, and it's almost unbelievable. That's not only is he a professor of pediatrics, he's actually the provost. You know, and so we have a long tradition of a relationship with colleges of medicine and universities. We grew up in university campus, and we're just so pleased and happy at this acknowledgement, and we thank you all very much. God bless you.
Thank you very much. We are actually not disappointed. We waited long for you. On that note, I'd like to call on Professor Okuneye to give us a closing prayer. And after that, the VIPs should please proceed to the Vice Chancellor's quadrangle. Okay. After the closing prayer, LASU alumni in the house, please come up for the group photograph. Professor Kuneye, please.
I understand. We actually had a very successful day. On the note of that, we thank Almighty Allah for today, for making the event a successful one. And I pray that this will not, as we have started, will continue to have it annually. I pray that all of us that have attended this occasion will get back home safely. And at all times, Almighty Allah will continue to protect us. To Almighty Allah, I say, safe journey to everybody. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Now, LASU alumni in the house, please come up for the group photograph. All alumni, please. Please come up, come up. Come up higher.